My name is Mamata, lecturer in economics. I am going to teach economics for class 11 and 12. Today, let's do measurement of national income under expenditure method. Expenditure method in national income is defined as the market value of all final goods and services currently produced in the domestic territory of a country. Aikoina khangre national income haibse kahino haibada kogi domestic territory duda chahi amada puthoiba final goods and services to madugi market value do adune haidana. The expenditure method is the most obvious way of measuring national income, as expenditure on final goods and services in a year represents the market value of final goods and services currently produced by the productive enterprises. And measurement of national income under expenditure method masi yamna khangbada laiba yamna nuaiba adugumba makhangi measurement amani kaino haiba matamda akogi expenditure on final goods and services in a year se chahi amada akogi expenditure tawriba final goods and services se masiga masina represent tawriba se chahi amada productive enterprises na puthoiba goods and services to adugi market value do aduga manai haba. Aggregate final expenditure have masi karino madu mugengsi. Aggregate final expenditures on goods and services which we have to estimate for measuring national income is the sum of all final expenditures, all consumer households, business firms or enterprises, general governments and foreigners on goods and services produced in an economy in a year. And aggregate final expenditure have say karino have matamda it is expenditure on goods and services masina kaino akoina national income hotpada changi basi akogi household ne adagi business firms ne adagi enterprises adagi general governments adagi foreigners masina akogi domestic territory sida puthoiba goods and services masida spend togiba expenditure do madugi total amount do madu puthokpado adune haba anna masi karino akoina national income hotpada changi base expenditure method na masine haba. Aggregate final expenditure on goods and services which we have to estimate for measuring national income is the sum of final expenditures of all consumer households, business firms or enterprises, general government and foreigners on goods and services produced in an economy in a year. Aduna aikoina national income hotpada darkar oiriba aggregate final expenditures haibase aikogi household na are consumer all consumer households na business firms na enterprises na general governments na foreigners na chahi amada economy de puthoiba goods and services to madda spend togiba total expenditure so adune haba. Aduna aggregate final expenditure se masiga kai managi haba matamda private final consumption expenditure plus government domestic capital formation. This is also called gross investment expenditure plus government's final consumption expenditures matangda adagi plus net exports which is equal to exports minus imports masiga manai. Aduti khwai ahamda aikoina yengsi main steps in expenditure method of measuring national income se expenditure method na national income se karam ba mong do hotly aduga magi steps sing se masi karino haibido yengsi. Number 1 da estimating expenditures on consumer goods and services by individuals and household. This is called private final consumption expenditure and is denoted by C. Quite hamba steps data akoina consumer consumers individuals sing arige households sing na consumer goods and services masida spend togiba expenditure do madu estimate to bani masi kari koge habada private final consumption expenditure kowi masi akogi capital C se masina denote towi arige ani suba step ta estimating government's expenditures on compensation of employees and on goods and services to satisfy collective wants. This is called government's final consumption expenditure and it is denoted by G. Ani subada akoina estimate to godoribasi government na magi employees singsidai da pigiba compensation wages and salaries compensation of employees madu kayano adagi adugi sumathakta akogi government na akogi miyam gi pen nabagi damakta thunghanabagi ningba thunghanabagi damakta akogi pochai mayam lei miyam gi damakta maduda changiba expenditure do maduga ani se plus torga masibo government's finance consumption expenditure kogi masi akogi capital G se machine da denote tawi home suba steps ta the expenditure by productive enterprises on capital goods and on building of inventories or stock. This is called gross domestic capital formation or gross domestic investment and is denoted by I or GDCF. Ahum suba step ta akoina estimate to godoribasi productive enterprises se masna capital goods labada habadi akoigi machines adai tools adagi construction of factory buildings machine singshina expenditures on capital goods kawi sida changiba paisa and on building of inventories or stocks habise karino habe matamda akoigi enterprises na di magi paisa se invest aurba aduga stock ta akoigi finished goods oina adagi semi finished oina adagi raw material oina leiribado madubu inventories or stocks kawi masi kaino have matamda changes in the stock su kawi changes in the stock habise kaino have it is a difference between the closing stock and opening stock na habado akogi chahi se hek horokpa matamda mamang chahi gi lemhoba pochai singdo madugi value so in the form of finished good semi finished argo raw material da adugi value do kayano haina mung thirani this is called opening stock aruga akogi chahi sigi loisalakpa matamda magi lemhoriba pochai akogi semi finish finish raw material da leiribado maduna closing stock owi aruga closing stocks ka adagi opening stock ka difference lorabado madubo kari kauge have the changes in the stocks kawi aduna inventories or stocks haribase masi maduni this is called gross domestic capital formation and the enterprises na magi capital goods ta changiba expenditure sing adagi inventories changiba paisa sing ani du pulagani akoge gross domestic capital formation haise masi gross domestic investment su kawi aduga masi I na denote tawi aduga masi GDCF hanaga su khangnai na gross domestic capital formation is divided into two parts and mathakta su explain to grabaduni akoi gross domestic capital formation se parts ani thokna khaidoi number 1 dana gross fixed capital formation haise again number 2 dana addition to the stocks or inventories of goods haise gross fixed capital formation haise hana haikiba akoi expenditures on machines and tools and construction of factory buildings adagi resident houses quarters kumba adu leire aruga ani suba additions to the stock size on asagi changes in the stock side ba semi finish and raw material the leirba akogi opening stocks ka aruga closing stocks ka difference laro figure do adu bune number 4 da calculating the expenditures made by foreigners on goods and services produced in a country and exported to other countries which are called exports and are denoted by X. We deduct from exports the expenditure by the people, firms and the governments of a country on imports of goods and services from other countries. This is, we have to estimate net exports, that is exports minus imports or X minus M. Okay, economics study exports generally okay X na represent awi aruga imports na M na represent awi aduna akoina mari suba steps ta uribasi akoigi foreigners singna India da akoigi own countries da puthokpa goods like the expenditure like bada mon expenditure kyam tauki masimba lerni adagi akoina su akoi puthokpa pochai singse mapan da thadoi adudagi export awi madudagi kyam talai adudagi amu akoina mapan dagi import kaya mapan da puthokpa pochai akoina kyam na pusalai na import se anuga export ka import ka difference masi lower figure dubuni aikoina net exports haribase aduga aikoina mari suba steps estimate to base net export to aduni. It is the difference between the amso han haigre export minus import haibaduni net export haibase adu mase XN represent to. Thus, we add up the four types of expenditures to get aggregate final expenditures or gross domestic product at market prices. Asumna akoina mathakta pigiriba akoigi expenditure makhal mari se masi loina tinjanagani aruga tinjanaba figure se masina piri base gross domestic product at market price haibado aduna gross domestic product at market prices se masi karige manai private final consumption expenditure plus government's final consumption expenditure plus gross domestic capital formation plus exports minus import aruga XN machine ana GDP at market price is equal to PFCE plus GFCE plus GDCF plus X minus M haibado adune. Now on deducting consumption of fixed capital, that is depreciation, from gross domestic product at market prices, we get net domestic product at market prices. Aduna aikoina gross domestic product at market prices se masidagi aikoina kari khaidokadagi haiba matamda depreciation allowance masi khaidokraga ga depreciation allowance akoina consumption of fixed capital su ko bodo madu khaidokraga akoina fangiba figure si net domestic product at market prices se masi fangani. In this method, we then subtract net indirect taxes, that is indirect taxes minus subsidies, to arrive at net domestic product at factor cost. Aruga hairiba net domestic product at market price shidagi aikoina net domestic product at factor cost phange harabadi net indirect taxes se masi amuk minus togani net domestic product at market prices tagi akoina net indirect taxes aibja akoina mamang du siam khana gre. It is the difference between the indirect taxes and subsidies aibdo masigi net indirect tax market price dagi minus tawraga akoina net domestic product at factor cost masi fangani. Lastly, we add net factor income from abroad to obtain net national product at factor cost, which is called national income. Kwaiki iroi beda akoina net domestic product at factor cost masdai da net factor income from abroad se masi tinjangani adu orabadi akoina national income haina ba net national product at factor cost masi fangani adna net national product at factor cost masi kariga manage haiba matamda gross domestic product at market prices minus consumption of fixed capital minus net indirect taxes plus net factor income from abroad se masiga managani haiba aduga atopa amada sumaina hairasu yai net national product at factor cost se net domestic product at factor cost plus net factor income from abroad se masiga sumanai hena haiba yai masini akoina measurement of national income under expenditure method che masigi mathangda akoina masigi estimation of national income under expenditure method che masidai da karam ba item yawga dage karam ba item yawroi doge habado madu amukhana se akoge khwai ahan bada akoi sales and purchase of second hand goods se masi yawgadra yawroidra habade yengse expenditure method ki makhada. Since second hand goods are not currently produced in a year, they cannot be counted in national income of a current year. They were counted in the national income of the year when they were produced and sold for the first time. Anna akoigi sell and purchase of second hand goods laina ba yona ba tawbase akoigi national income hot pada yawroi karino haiba matamda second hand goods haibasidi hauji ki current year se masde puthokpa nate magi value sidi ahan ba magi puthokpa matamdo adudaida adum purchase and sell do maduda count tawnagrabani anna akoina second hand goods yonthok yonchin tawbogi se national income hot pada yawroi expenditure method ta ani subdang yengse purchase of shares and bonds. Expenditures on purchase of shares and bonds from other people and from business enterprises should not be included while estimating gross domestic product through expenditure method. This is because bonds and shares are mere financial claims and do not represent expenditures on currently produced goods and services. Aikoina expenditures on shares and bonds and share laithok leishin tawase masigi se akogi national income hotpada yauroi karigidamakta yauroi doino haiba matamda hairiba akogi bonds and shares se masidi adum financial claims mi hongdok hongjin akoi ownership mo hongdok hongjin tawani masina hojik puthoiba goods and services masida leibagi khotpagi tawba expenditure natte haba maduna masin national income hotpada yauroi. Number 3, the expenditures on transfer payments by governments such as unemployment benefits, old age pensions, interest on public debt should not be included because no goods or productive services are produced in the current year in exchange by the receipts of these payments. Akoigi transfer payments some naharga unemployment benefits ba haiba, old age pension ga haiba, areg interest on public debt akoigi government da paisa sanbage phangpa interest kum se masi national income hotpada yauroi karigino haiba matamda masi hojik phangiba mising do anna hojik puthoiba pochai singsida leiba khotpagi expenditure se natte haba mase aduna masi national income hotpada yauroi. Mari Subda expenditures on intermediate goods such as fertilizers and seeds by the farmers, wool, cotton, yarn by the manufacturers of garments should also be excluded. This is because we have to avoid double counting. Therefore, for estimating gross domestic product, we have to include only expenditure on final goods and services. Aikogi expenditure on intermediate goods samna harga farmer na fertilizers legibagi paisa adagiri seeds kumba legibadai paisa arage manufacturers sing garments ki manufacturers sing na wool lebada changiba paisa adagi cotton lebada changiba paisa yarn ga lebase masi yauroi kaino habadi mogi value se masi yausilabade koi double counting soidana tahane ba aikoina national income se masi measure to matam se da estimation da yauribasidi expenditure on final goods and services to adu khaktane ba adna expenditures on intermediate goods se masi yauroi haba the interest on public debt. Interest paid on public debt is treated as a transfer payment and not counted as government expenditures on goods and services. Therefore, it is not included in measurement of national income. Akogi interest on public debt se government paisa pubagi akogi piba interest se masi treatments and national income calculations the yauroi expenditure method ta masi karigino haiba matamda akogi government na masi transfer payment ni and masi count away na transfer payment have say national income hotpada yauroi haba examination fees paid by students masidi this is a price paid by the students to the university or board for service of conducting the examination akoi chhatra naga piba fees masidi kamai ta buno have the board na mogi examination gumba togi service moi the pibagi thiba paisa ne ba maram aduna it is counted in measurement of national income through expenditure method aduna masidi national income calculation the yaugane haba Rimari Subda school fees paid by students. School fees paid by students are payment for rendering education services by the school and is a part of final expenditures of the households of the students. Therefore, they are included in the estimation or of national income. Satrana schools the piriva paisa se masidi yaugani karigino haiba matamda moina phi thiribase school na moida educate toba akogi education gi service se masi pibagi damakta masi students ke household do madugi part of the final expenditure neba maram aduna masi national income hotpada yaugani masini matang saida akoina measurement of national income under expenditure method che masi loire aina khangi asa tawi noina masigi method che gyam phajana gyan tana khangagani haina arwa karamba item yaugadage karamba item yauroidage haibado masi phajana khamanga mani haina khangi for today let's do up to this only. Thank you.